the best lesson that I took or that we took as a company, I think, in humbleness is, yes, you have a big vision. You need to start small. You want to make sure that you're creating value today for everyone in the value chain, for the main user, for the main buyer, for the person that's around you. But we got to that by making a lot of mistakes. We made a lot of different changes in the way we spoke about it, in the way we introduced it, in the way we built it, in the way we sold it later. But it took a lot of time.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. 20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with C-Tech. Hello and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today I'm honored to be joined by Gal Shaul, the co-founder and chief technology and product officer of Augury, a machine health company building a world where people can always rely on the machines that matter. He oversees value delivery to customers via services, operations, and products, and drives technical innovation at the company. Prior to founding Augury, Gal was the head of software development at EndyMed, a medical devices startup, and a firmware engineer at Zoran, a cheap manufacturing company. He holds a B.Sc in computer science from the Israel Institute of Technology. Gal Shaul, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing well. Very happy to be here. I just caught a cold, but other than that, everything's great.
Well, thank you for joining me nevertheless. It's going to be a great 20-minute conversation. In a second, I'm going to ask you about this awesome looking window behind you and what is going inside there. But you're the chief product technology officer at Augury, and looking at machine failures, and over the last 10 years, been building an incredible company that is doing really, really cool things. And so I'm really excited to hear about, your role there and what the company is doing and the domain that you're in and the different insights that you've had. So tell me what it is that's behind you right now, and then we'll dive into your actual day job.
Yeah, so it's not very far from my day job, but specifically this one's not for the company I work for.
Yeah,
it's an alpha product for a company called Agua Farm. We had an amazing product manager that left to work there. It's growing for the family, right? So you can see there are a lot of green things growing, and they're managing it from an app. And I'm testing it and eating it for me and for the rest of my family. So we're all having fun with that.
Awesome. Okay, so now I can now I can be at peace with my curiosity. Just for context, I didn't let you tell me before we started the podcast because I knew everybody would be curious. Okay, Gal, take me back, 10, 11 years or so. What's happening in the world? Where are you at in your life that's getting into Augury?
Yes. So I was a few years after engineering school working for a medical device startup with a background as a naval officer in Israel and working for a relatively small startup, roughly 20 people or so, leading software there, trying to do different things. Most of the startups around us, it was late 2011, where might take you back in time because startups usually are not that long, but we started where most of the things around us were social, mobile, and geolocation. Everyone was talking about that. Everything had to go to mobile. Everything had to add some localization aspect or understanding of that. And we were looking at kind of the next step. We're like, right, what's up after kind of this consumer phase, right? How does it go back to enterprise? Where things are going to go? Sarah and I met each other at the Technion. We were talking about startups forever. And then when this specific opportunity presented itself, and we can talk specifically about that, there was something about industrials and real world problems, kind of was a physical world, and getting all the good things that happen with digital and nice screens and appealing interfaces and intuitive things happening that just didn't go back to industrial, didn't go back to enterprise for so long. And we started working on something like that. Right? I was working in a medical device startup, had a problem in a machine. You could hear it, but nothing in the machine told you it's wrong. So I was working on other things at the time, and I called them to ask for a solution. Can we just put something there that would hear the problem, right? Because that's the indicator that I'm hearing. So why don't others? So I was working on similar correlations between physical sounds and AI. It was at a time where kind of image processing was really moving forward, and AI or machine learning was really involved in that, and everything around sound wasn't really there. Around text and language it was, but around kind of physical sounds, kind of things that come from nature or from the surroundings of us, wasn't a thing.
So cool.
So we started working together, and we understood very early on that if we want to do something, it's now, right? It's before we had kids. It's before kind of families grew. We had just enough money in order to get started. We thought about it like an MBA program, right? We'll do kind of an OJT for an MBA. We'll take what it would cost and then spend it on our first company, but we'll build it right? So we had a curriculum of learnings, and we had things that we were doing for the first 2 years. And we got a lot of laughs from investors because we were pretty early on. IoT wasn't a thing. Internet of Things wasn't a phrase yet. Industry 4.0 wasn't coined yet. Industrial Revolution wasn't there. There were people still speaking about the previous Industrial Revolution, right? So a lot of the things emerged while we were already in there. So it's a privilege to see an industry like that emerge and happen with us and around us.
Tell me a little bit about your process as an entrepreneur in an emerging industry. How did you manage the tension or the dissonance between, where you are seeing the world, where the world is now, and how do you help people, whether it's customers, investors, employees? How do you bridge that gap for everybody? Because you're sort of living on a different planet sometimes, and you have to constantly come back down to reality and while also living towards the vision.
Yeah, so I would say that the real advantage of being there early is that you get to make the most amount of mistakes more than anyone else. You start speaking about AI to industrial people or to people on the production floor, and they don't really understand what do you want from them, right? So you learn to be humble very early, and you start speaking some industrial language and with VCs, and you understand again that it's not their realm. So you're constantly trying to be this bridge, not by yourself, right? But you need a lot of help in order to make it happen, in order to really bridge that gap. I think the best lesson that I took or that we took as a company, I think, in humbleness is, yes, you have a big vision. You need to start small. You want to make sure that you're creating value today for everyone in the value chain, for the main user, for the main buyer, for the person that's around you. But we got to that by making a lot of mistakes. We made a lot of different changes in the way we spoke about it, in the way we introduced it, in the way we built it, in the way we sold it later. But it took a lot of time.
And so during that time, take me back really to the founding for a second of how you saw what was the vision that you had for this world. What was the vision for Augury back then? And then I'd love to sort of fast forward to today and where you're at now and how you're seeing the world today. And obviously talking about what it means to be both chief product and CTO.
Yeah. So I would say that back then, people maybe were not our main focus, at least at the beginning, but it was all machines are going to interact with each other. They're all going to be connected. And with that connection, a lot of power would come to everyone who wants to use that, right? If every machine becomes a sensor in a way, right? Every machine tells you what it's doing, what it's trying to do, how it's behaving. Then a lot of big things would evolve from that. right? And I think that's where we started. It's a bit of a technological vision of, all right, we have a take of this is where technology is going to head, right? Every center or every machine is going to be connected and transmit backwards what it's doing. Sure. I think where we evolve to is the understanding that what we can bring to the table outside of the technology is this interaction between people and machine, and make the world better in every possible way, right? There are things around kind of company's profit that needs to evolve, and they can make production more efficient and create more wealth while doing that and invest that somewhere else. It can improve their employees' life and everyone around them, right? So if they empower people on the production line to be more data people, they can be more autonomous in decision making. They can learn more. They can earn more. They can have easier shifts. They don't need to come in the middle of the night because they're going to know, right? So they're going to have a lot of prosperity with their people, and they're going to help the environment, right? So they're going to have less emissions, and they're going to have less weight while at it. So so then this balance of people, profit, and planet, right? To kind of something from the late 90s, which always felt like a trade-off between kind of those two elements, is all of a sudden not a trade-off. It's an evolutionary step towards that it goes together. If you invest more in your people, you're going to create less pollution and you're going to make more profit. And understanding that's even feasible today for manufacturing, which is one of the biggest problems in pollution today, and becoming a part of the solution for that is a big privilege, and being a part of that vision and helping driving that vision forward. I would say to your question, one more sentence.
Go ahead.
That what we learned along the journey is to dream bigger, right? That it's not only a technology, that it's not only a product, it's an industry change that shifts, right? So as you stand at a position where you believe that everything you said at the beginning is actually feasible, and it's actually doable, and it's actually happening in the world, right? Where can you look at the horizon? And the ability to dream bigger is something that is a big privilege to where we stand today.
So I want to take you back just one more time to, September 2011, as you're starting, this company. You were an engineer before that, trained at the Technion, did software engineering a couple of places, and then started a company as co-founder and CTO. And you're looking now, a little more than 11 years down the line, a lot of volume of capital, in transactions, a lot of different customers, a big team that you're managing. I mean, what was that like for you, making that leap from, a software engineer to all of a sudden being, a co-founder of a visionary startup, where a second ago you tell me that, what you really learned is that you need to dream bigger than what you may be dreaming currently?
Yeah. I think kind of being a first-time founder, especially coming from engineering school and having Sar as a co-founder, is that you assume that you don't know anything. All right, we know one piece of building a company, and then you come with really fresh eyes to a lot of new things, right? We don't know finance. Now what? All right, let's see, what courses should we take? What should we learn? How fast can we learn that? Can we know enough in order to be dangerous, right? Can we know enough in order to hire the right person? Can we know enough in order to build the first budget, in order to get some funding, in order to hire someone that would manage finance, right? And it was true for marketing and sales and biz dev and building a category. But it was constantly being very curious and very learning driven. I think that what allowed us to be very diligent on product. Like, hey, this doesn't do what we wanted it to do. And being kind of not afraid of the answer, no, it doesn't work. And then this correlation between we don't know anything, but we can learn everything type of thing. So this, humble brag type of behavior. Hey, I don't know this, but hey, give me a week. Let's talk in a week. I'll be a bit more educated in a week, right? What I can learn in 20 hours is a lot. Do you want to invest it in other things, right? What I took from it for my life, I start a new hobby every year, and I decide if I want to keep it after the first 20 hours, where you learn just enough to feel that you suck or that you don't know, right? Or understand what are even the terms of being good at this. And then you understand kind of if you want to grow there, or if you don't, if you're going to bring someone else that is going to do that, if you're going to drop it and never do it again. And it's true for the company, and it's true for me, it feels true for my life as well.
So now 11 years in, where is Augury today? And what is your what is your role now in this whole world?
Yeah. So I think very early on, and I'll definitely today, culture was a very big pillar of what we felt is important, right? So if we're driving for a great vision that includes people, we need the people that are with us to be on board. So we're very vision and mission driven company, team that is very autonomous and works almost kind of by its own to make a lot of decisions and thrives with that seeking of truth type of habit, right? It's kind of, if something doesn't work, just keep breaking it until it does, or say that this is not the direction and build it towards somewhere else. And you need to build a culture that is very safe in order to be able to say, hey, the thing that you asked for me, that it's not it, right? We're not going to win with that. It's not good enough, right? So the ability to move a lot of the decision down the line, or putting decisions close to where the action is actually going to happen, or the operation is actually going to happen, is a big task of what I'm doing today. It's easier when it's a 10 people company. It's a bit harder when it's a 400 people team that is driven across the ocean, and some of it came with an M&A we recently had, right? So being able to drive that culture is a big piece. I think what I'm doing today is two things, right? Is making sure that our core stays very strong with product market fit that we have on machine health, and around supporting everything that our sales and marketing team need. And on the side of it, making sure that the incubation zone, right, or things that we're building that are new, are not being swept away by the machine that we're building to scale, right? Because the thing that you need to do for innovation, not necessarily the thing that you need to do in order to scale products. And we need to be in a bit of different tracks on kind of things that you're building for growth, and things that you know that are already growing, and you need to fuel that engine and perfect them. It's a bit of a different play. And I think that my role is making sure that at least the things that are net new are being protected, as innovation is still our biggest driver as a company.
And so if you're looking now at, a landscape of young entrepreneurs going on their journey, regardless of what companies, they're building, what their ideas, and I think it sounds like you're definitely the right person to be thoughtful about this and to reflect back because of the different lessons you've learned and the intentionality with which you went onto this journey. How are you thinking about, this journey in retrospective to young entrepreneurs today? And obviously the world is a little bit different than it was, but people are people, innovation is innovation. And so what should young entrepreneurs be keeping in mind as they embark on this 11-year journey, where hopefully at the end of it, they can say that now they're leading a more than 400 person team strong, whose goal is to keep the core going and to continue innovating?
Yeah. Right. I'll try to summarize some of it, but I think it's a broad conversation, right? But I think the founding team that you're starting with, co-founders, maybe the first 5 people that you bring along, really matters, are really going to shape your future, because that's the people that you're going to be inspired by most of the time. Yes, you can watch an amazing TED or listen to this great podcast, but then it would be 20 minutes. You'd listen to another one, that would be 40. And then you spend another 14 hours with those 2 to 4 people in a room that are eating your brain and talking all the time and speaking and debating. And that's your main source for inspiration. So if they're bringing the best out of you, completing you in many ways, right? Provoking your thought, making you be angry maybe, right? But then you leave and you come up with a better solution tomorrow. That's a very good indicator that you're in the right team, in the right place. So kind of being the best version of yourself is there. I would say that Sar is a long-term thinker, my co-founder, and I'm sometimes I may be more impulsive or want to get things for tomorrow. But the balancing act of both of us there was a lot of good things. And over the years, sometimes it changed, right? I already started talking about too much about why or too much about, hey, let's think about it in terms of scale. And he was like, no, we just need to get this for tomorrow. And that's it. And I think that the balancing act and the ability to balance each other out in hard times, when someone's afraid, when someone's in a bad spot, if they can lift you up, and if you can lift them up when they need a hand, I think that's the best advice I have there. Learning curiosity is mandatory, and how do you manage fear, I think is an aspect that I would not keep aside.
Tell me a little bit more how you manage your fear.
So I think at first it was something that I wasn't able to recognize I was doing it, or it was just a part of the way we encountered most fears, but one of us would take charge of it. And most of the time it was like turning on all the lights and driving straight at it. It's not hiding away from it. It's not putting it aside. It's like, all right, it's called counterphobia, but it's a defense mechanism where you think that the best defense now is not to hide away. It's not to start telling excuses. It's to just run at it. It's say, hey, this is a problem. Let's call it even a crisis and run right at it and not talk about anything else but that event. It makes you sometimes kind of very aggressive because people are not even willing to speak about it yet. They're not sure. You already have a fully baked plan of how we're going to operate. When COVID started, there was a lot of fear and tons of uncertainty around. And it made sense. So I gathered the team of people who likes war in my team. I don't have a kind of a better way to describe it. We have people that are good in peacetime and are great, whether it's growing and flourishing, and you can put new flowers and the office is there, and now we need to renovate, and now we need to do this event. And we have some people who are there for wartime. All right, we don't know shit. We don't understand how customers are going to join us. We don't understand how we're going to deploy our solution. We don't understand how to work remotely really well. We're too small. We need to raise money in 4 months. How are we going to do that? Great, we're alive. And you have those people, then you need to be able to recognize them that are there for this stressful moments and be able to gather them around, build a plan around that. And then at the moment that it starts being created, you already come up with a plan, right? You already have, hey, we already looked at these in the eye. We already looked at horror movies, and this is what we think is going to happen. We're going to have an all hand every 3 days to start talking about that. We're going to freeze hiring tomorrow. We're going to stop coming to the, and that became kind of like military, right? It was kind of something like that. And we started preparing for that in January, where everything closed in March, right? So it was kind of, right, here is a fear if that comes true. So that's maybe an extreme example, but it comes in many other things where you sometimes see entrepreneurs or companies kind of go around their problem or afraid to say, hey, we don't have product market fit for this product. It's not working. We can't pass the hump of early adopters to early majority. We're just not there. Something is missing, right? And the ability to stare at it at the eye, at the model and say, hey, we're failing here. Let's put all of our resources to that problem. I think that helped us in many situations and saved us, even though it was hard. It required a lot of sacrifice, but it was, so far, it's been worth it.
God, thank you so much for this time and the openness and authenticity. I really, really appreciate it. Can't wait to continue cheering from the side and seeing all the amazing things that you're doing. So thank you, and best of luck. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks for having me, and good luck.